Doors and ImSims. Originally, this video was going to be about interactivity in game worlds. However, I think we'll have more to talk about under the framing of doors and ImSims. To kick off this discussion, we need to clarify what we're talking about, which is video games. Now, what is an immersive sim? Wikipedia says an immersive sim is a video game genre that emphasizes player choice. This is a really good definition when you consider all games are about player choice. That the interactivity is why we're here. We need something more concrete than that. According to financially and morally independent author, editor-in-chief of some AI Sloppenheimer, dull and muddy-mettled rascal, Joseph T.L. Clark. An ImSim is a narrative-heavy, systems-driven, non-linear RPG-ish first-person shooter/stealth game. Wherein he clarifies, most of these qualifiers are negotiable, like his morality. We can ignore his definition. Grok says, an immersive sim is a video game genre that emphasizes deep simulation of interconnected systems, AI, physics, objects, etc., to enable emergent, player-driven gameplay with multiple creative solutions to problems in a richly interactive world. Okay, so here we have a new problem. What in the world is that emergent word? Merriam-Webster says it's arising unexpectedly. Easy. So emergent gameplay is arising or sudden, unexpected gameplay. Okay. And last, before we make our own definition for use of this video, and certainly not least, let's go to Reddit. Never mind, they're talking about arguing about becoming religious because OP said their definition, Far Cry would be an immersive sim. This is the problem with Reddit. We let them simmer and now these NPC brainlets think their Reddit is their church. Reddit definition of immersive sim is subjective. It's actually useless. What's the point of discourse if you're not going to talk about anything? Pose the question of what it actually is we're trying to discuss and everybody looks and shrugs. They're all lots of them. Reading more in the thread, I found these people don't know how games work. It's literally magic stones to them. I mean, in reality, it's all it is, but they think it's science magic that makes it work. Don't go to Reddit for these kind of things. Your loosh will be farmed. Instead of using Reddit, we'll use another AI, the anti-white Google AI. An immersive sim is a video game design philosophy that prioritizes player agency, emergent gameplay, and systemic problem solving. Okay, so between the two AI and a bunch of Redditors, I think we need one more definition on our subject here to clarify what Cain, creator of Fallout, says over 5 minutes in a 10-minute video that an ImSim requires 3 things. 1. Basic rules for the world. 2. Rules interact with each other. 3. The player follows the rules. He then claims ImSims are a descriptor. All genres are descriptors. He then makes the distinction between systems and scripts. Games that use systems are different from games that are using scripts. Yes. Thank you, Cain, you good little gay goy you. Alright, definition time. So what is an immersive sim? An immersive sim is a game where emergent gameplay is prioritized through systems and player agency. With that, the discussion here can begin. First, I want to talk about doors. Doors are not important. Nobody cares if they see a door they can't open. If all doors are operable, however, and they're not noticed, it still would be in gameplay. When every door in Dishonored works, the player doesn't notice it. But it matters, because an NPC could go through it, and the player knows that. When small things like doors are accounted for, true immersion begins. Walking into a room and having to turn on a light is a small thing, but depending on the experience, it can serve multiple uses. From horror to presenting a puzzle. Knocking things off of a shelf in a fight, throwing an enemy into furniture. The world respects the player, and the spectacle begins. ImSims. There seems to be this idea that ImSims are just stealth FPS games, but we already have a genre for those, FPS stealth game genre. Sims are pointing to something more than just sneaking behind guys for 20 hours. There's a level of reactivity that is expected not only from the enemies but the world as well. When a player goes somewhere, they need to be rewarded with multiple options, not just rewards. Offering the player ability to talk down a situation instead of gunning everyone down is important. When the player builds stories in their minds about their characters, they engage with the game on a level no other medium can. When that same scenario, it can also be passed by sneaking, knockout gas, grenade, side quest interaction, so NPC v NPC, and that same theme goes to every scenario in the game, something profound happens. The stories of the players stick with them for many years after the experience. Bethesda used to be so coveted because of the experiences within Fallout and Elder Scrolls, wherein the games account for the sequence breaking and the player's own agency in their builds. Then, having the world to react to the player builds. However, Bethesda games are not Sims, so we'll get back on topic. Dishonored has many examples from this, from Granny Rags to Corvo himself and his plethora of options for every scenario. The death of the Sim. As games continue to evolve, we start working towards more complex systems that can account for any permutation the player throws at it. The immersive sim genre will seemingly die off, not as a loss, but as a triumphant showcase of what games once strive to be, the larger than the scope of the people making them, accounting for the chaos from complex equations they didn't bother solving answers for. There is hope, however. Eventually, most games will have sort of a game master behind it, like the game systems in Left 4 Dead or Risk of Rain, but more complex, accounting for anything the player can say or do. NPCs can be spoken to and will play in their role and guide the player along the story. I think game designers will take up the role more of directors and gameplay developers over time, and purely man-made games will always be made because they're art, and these experiences will be truly immersive simulations, at which point we come full circle to the start. A game where emergent gameplay is prioritized through systems and player agency is an Sim, and I think the way games are headed is towards the open, non-linear worlds where emergent gameplay comes from the systems opposed to strictly scripting every scenario. What may seem like the genre right now that kills its studios may end up being one of the most intriguing, innovative scenes in gaming. Of course, I am accounting for AI and its influences here. Although it is still widely unaccepted, I can see its use cases and shortfalls. I personally don't use AI for more than a search query. In closing, an immersive simulation is a game where emergent gameplay is prioritized through systems and player agency. Doors are unimportant, Sims will evolve into something greater, and Tim Cain is gay. Signing off. See ya.